we are continuing on. We are going to talk about our third slide. You might have seen this one before. It is called The Scream. It is by the artist. His name is Edward Munch. Okay, Munch. This is done in 1910. This particular one, it is done on tempera, excuse me, they use tempera. He used tempera and pastels on cardboard. Okay, this is part of a series. I'm going to show you the other four versions of this in total, so you can see how this compares to the other ones. Um, this is in the National Gallery of Art in Oslo, which is located in Norway. Okay, and then the size of this, it's 32 inches, so it's just under 3 feet by 23 and a quarter of an inch. Okay, so 23 1 over fourth of an inch, quarter of an inch. Okay, so these are really small. Okay. Real quick, Edward Munch, he is part of the symbolist movement, so please write that down. Uses minimum of form to create maximum expressiveness. Okay. You can classify him not only in the symbolist, but you could actually also put him as an expressionist. And we'll get into talking a little bit about more as to why he painted this particular scene. And just to kind of show you real quick, this is how it looks, his other four versions of it. So this is it's either this one or this one that we're looking at. But he's also done it from an oil on tempera, oil on pastels. He did two oil on pastels and then a tempera painting. So you can kind of see the various ways that he's painted this. Obviously the one in black and white, you don't get that color, so it kind of deteriorates when you look at the one from the left to the one on the right, as far as getting that extra kind of visual that is supposed to be really impactful for this particular one. Okay. All right. So the Scream, you've probably seen this. It comes from movies. Even they've made some scary movies on this. Nothing that I will ever watch. Um, the areas in this particular painting that I need for you to kind of just point out. We got the bridge. Okay, so this whole section right here. You got the landscape, kind of this general area, okay? And then you got that sky. And that sky is something we're going to really talk about. And when you look at the way that he has painted, this should kind of remind you a little bit. I think you can kind of make a claim as to how Van Gogh painted his Starry Night and the way that he has his paint strokes. You could literally see how he took the paintbrush and he went from left to right, and you can just see this line. It's a curve. You can see the swells and how it's kind of just making the sky just kind of move. And that's actually going to go into a little bit about the theory as to what is this maybe depicting. Okay, so this guy, he's deep. Okay. Also, I wanted to tell you down at the bottom right here, he actually signed and dated his work, even though you can't really see it that well. Okay, so what you need to know for this. At the time, this particular artist, Monk, he was interested in a few things: relationships, life, death, dread. Okay? During his life, his art was said to be an insult to art. Now, it's kind of hard to say that because I feel like we've already seen this painting, or if you've never seen this painting before, I think this is a painting that we've seen in just popular times. And the fact that that has such a strong impact of being an insult, definitely not on the academia. So if that's where that's coming from, the Parisians, they're used to their, really fine quality, almost looks like a picture painting, then yeah, we can definitely see he's gone off the rocker. Still on that opposite side, he's going away from that academia for sure. Believe it or not, this has been stolen many times. Um, Found that to be kind of interesting. There's a special vocab word that I need for you to write down. You might have already written it down, so if you did, underline it, put a little smiley face, be like, yeah, I knew Miss Howard was going to go over this word. He approaches this experience with a word called synthesia. Synthesia. Okay? I'm trying to pronounce that to make it sound correct. It's spelled Synesthesia. And basically what that means, so you can just put a definition to it, union of senses, okay, like your smell, your see, your touch, how you can hear, those types of senses, results in the visual depiction of sound and emotion. So it's the fact that when you hear a particular sound, you might think of a particular color. Or, and further that, when you think of a particular color, in my art class, my studio classes, we actually go into this whole discussion about how color has emotion attached to it. So, as opposed to when you see red, how red could be used like for warning, could be used to tell you to stop if you're driving a car, as opposed to green, which can tell you to go or to be used for health, or for money, um, or for nature, for recycling. So it's kind of interesting how we're starting to see this development where we can see color be used, to not only depict what we see in the scene, but how it can be also combined with your other senses. So that synthesia word, please make sure you have that down. That's a really important word, and I'd make you guys have that down in class. So again, he is part of the symbolist movement. He's going to also be classified. You can put him with expressionists because he gets really deep, like I said, and we'll get into that in a little bit. He has a pretty diverse background that he's confronted with questions regarding nature of subjectivity and visual depiction. He rejects natural detail, obviously, in favor of an expressive style that heightens the emotional power of his pictures. And again, you can clearly see that, just like how we saw Cezanne with his particular mountain. We see it more in an abstract way. And again, we're starting to see more of that abstract kind of show up. Okay, so a little bit about some of the content, just so that you can, if you had the opportunity to read the article. This again is part of a series. It's called The Freeze Life. So again, you can kind of see those other particular um, depictions. Portray of a nightmare. Okay, write that down. This is supposed to be portraying a nightmare, and we're going to talk about what's going on with him right now. In the article, I wrote down this quote that he said because it's important, and we're gonna get into it now. He said in his journal, I was walking along the road with two friends. I'm assuming it's those guys right there. I felt a gust of melancholy. Suddenly the sky turned bloody red. Okay, and you can get that sense up here. My friends went on, and I stood there, trembling with anxiety. I felt a vast, infinite scream through nature. The screaming figure, maybe that's Monk, not sure, feels the cry of nature sensed internally. How is this an example of symbolism? Well, we see a source of inspiration with unseen forces of life, dreams, and inner experiences. Theories. We're actually almost done. The theories for this particular sky, this particular time period, I would write these down. Um, Dealing with the sky, the colored sky could have been, they're saying, at this particular time in history, because we're looking at the date when he painted this, was 1910. Um, Now this happened earlier. This happened in 1883, but it said that there was a volcanic dust from a particular volcano or mountain, that is called the Krakatoa. It's found in Indonesia, which would produce great sunsets months after. Basically, this is 10 years before Monk painted the first version of the Scream. So this is one theory that that's what that's supposed to be depicting, is that dust, that volcanic dust, that traveled from Indonesia. The second theory is Monk writes, however, that this is a work of remembered sensation rather than perceived reality. So again, going back to that sensation, that synesthesia, the combining of two senses, how you can hear a particular color, or when you taste something, maybe it reminds you of a particular emotion right away, um, maybe from tasting something really good or really bad. Maybe it brings you to a particular moment in your life. Or the third one, and this one is kind of just out in left field, but it said that the figure is supposed to resemble a can't say that word right now. A mummy that also inspired another symbolist painter named Gauguin. So you have colored sky, could be from the volcanic dust. You got that maybe this is supposed to be some sort of a sensation that he's perceiving as reality, or maybe this is some sort of a mummy. Okay. Last thing I just mentioned is the composition. Vertical, straight, faceless bodies match the linearity of the bridge, while curving roundness of the hands, the head, and the face of the screamer match the winding background. So again, it's just discussing about how the way that he's painted his brushstrokes, they're all kind of going in that same kind of rhythm. Okay, so if you were to discuss movement with this particular piece, you could spend all day talking about movement and the way where your eye is traveling from one side to the other with that continuous line. And you can start to see those like waves and swells pick up in the sky, pick up in the landscape, and even into the bridge, and even furthermore into the face, into our screamer guy. Not too much you can see being depicted in the figures in the background, but more focusing. He's got him right in the center, in the foreground, where you need to kind of get your eyes drawn to. Okay. All right. So that was the scream. All right. This is Mrs. Howard signing out.